Hello everyone and welcome. I'm your host, Joseph J. McAllister, welcoming you to another exciting edition of Midnight at the Cemetery, the show that delves into mysteries, UFOs, poltergeists, vampires, serial killers, psychic phenomenon, macabre history, and more. Tonight we're broadcasting live from Lake Elsinore Naval Academy, where we have beautiful lakeside views of boats and jet skis gliding across the water. So sit back and relax, dim the lanterns, put the horses in the stable, and make yourself a hot cup of apple cider, for we are going on a strange and delightful journey into the supernatural. The Lake Elsinore Military Academy is a sprawling Spanish mission-style mansion that was built in 1924. The property was intended to be a country club and getaway for the rich and famous. Back then, it went by a different name, the Southern California Athletic and Country Club. It was comprised of 200 acres and included a golf course, tennis courts, cottages by the lake, and a marina. The ground floor was a reception and billiards room. The room directly beyond the lobby was a great hall and ballroom. The second floor was going to be comprised of hotel suites for up to 100 guests. A 500-foot L-shaped pier was going to be installed to anchor boats. A garage was going to be built to park and repair up to 100 automobiles, with outdoor parking for another 500. Employee housing was going to be built on site as well. The club was scheduled to open in May of 1925. The owners at the time were running out of money fast and seeking funding to complete their vision, but the club stood empty for another 9 years. The athletic club, however, was doomed to never open its doors. From 1929 to 1933, the Great Depression hit, and the club went up for sale. Colonel Glenn Conklin was an employee at the Pacific Military Academy in Culver City, California. He dreamed of opening his own military academy one day. When he saw the athletic club, he knew this was the place. Conklin was sold the 21.17-acre property July 29, 1973. He named the school Elsinore Naval Academy, which was eventually changed to Elsinore Naval and Military School, ENMS for short. The school provided grades 1 through 12, so it covered elementary, junior high, and high school all in one building. The school housed 150 to 200 students at any given time. At some point, the cadets dug the swimming pool that lies directly behind the school. From 1939 through 1945, enrollment was high due to World War II. At the time, the school had its own dairy farm. Conklin originally owned the entire lake and possibly the entire valley. On April 23, 1955, Conklin sold the lake to the Lake Elsinore Park Board for the sum of $55,000. The Naval Academy was closed in 1977 after operating for 44 years. Sometime in the late 70s, a fire destroyed the lobby, and at some point the classrooms on the north end of the property were burned down, and the outbuildings that housed classrooms burned down in the 80s. The academy has remained empty since 1977. A good 44 years now, the Naval Academy has been a time capsule frozen in time, only occasionally being breached by the homeless looking for shelter and skateboarders climbing the fence and leaving graffiti in their favorite skate park, the Academy's backyard swimming pool, which has not seen water in the past 44 years. Several ghost hunting teams have entered the building, whether approved by the owner or not, and have reported being pushed, collected EVPs, and hearing strange sounds inside. One group even stayed for 2 days undetected. Before venturing inside this building or any old dilapidated structure, know that it probably has asbestos deteriorating in its ceilings and walls. Asbestos is not dangerous when it's intact in its intended state, but over time, water damage, collapsed ceilings, vandalized walls, and aging can cause asbestos to become friable, which basically means it can crumble to dust in your hands. At this age, it's likely that these dust fibers are saturating the air that passes through the building. If you enter an old building and see collapsed ceilings or walls that have been kicked or punched in, exposing the insulation, then you are probably breathing it in. Asbestos was used in buildings from 1858 up until the 1970s. If you are going to enter an abandoned building built pre-1970s, you will need to wear a half-face dual cartridge respirator equipped with a HEPA filter cartridge, color-coded purple or N100, P100, R100, NIOSHA rating, which are specified for filtering out asbestos fibers. The property is currently in limbo, awaiting its fate, demolition or restoration. The property has already received interest from buyers looking for a possible casino location. The building was full of debris and scattered remnants left behind from when the academy closed. Fire pit scorch marks were seen in the building on the floors from homeless people trying to keep warm. Luckily, the building is mainly cement floors and walls and has seen very little structural or flooding damage. Unlike most old buildings, this could actually be repaired or restored, although the restoration has been quoted at $8 million. A small crew of volunteers has already cleared most of the debris inside. Police had to sweep the building several times due to homeless that were found living in the building. The volunteers found a false wall that had been installed in the building. When they knocked it down, they found there was an entire family living in a small sealed-off room and had been entering through a boarded-up window. The residents of Lake Elsinore don't want to see the city's history torn down and support restoration. The building is currently surrounded by a chain-link fence, and a caretaker lives on the property in an RV and keeps watch over the grounds full-time. Currently, I spent several weeks on this site where my father had attended school in 1944 when he was 10. He had mentioned before that he had seen Bela Lugosi's son, Bela George Lugosi Jr., on site, and was aware who his father was. Although they didn't hang out because my father was 4 years older than him, and in a different grade. And now let's talk about the Naval Academy hauntings. The Naval Academy is believed to be haunted by a fleeing ghost who runs from the building, pleading for help. In 1956, there was a foot of snow that covered the courtyard, which was the same year that Bela Lugosi died. The school also used a wood paddle to discipline the students. Around 2000, a small crew was allowed to go into the building to film by the owner at the time. They started hearing sounds of people splashing and playing in the pool. Every time they looked out the window at the pool, the sound stopped and nobody was there. And the pool didn't have any water in the first place. This happened several times, so they packed up their equipment and left the building. The owner at the time was upset about it and said nobody would ever film there again. Tune in to our next episode where we talk more about the history and the paranormal activity of Lake Elsinore. I'd like to thank the enmsalumni.org, cinematographer Ron Sharp, Sean Mack, and Blake Bashong from Nightmare at the Academy Haunted House for information that went into this episode. Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Midnight at the Cemetery. And remember to hit that subscribe button so we know we're not preaching to an empty burial ground. Until next time, this is your host, Joseph J. McAllister, reminding you, try to enjoy the light. Music featured on today's show is Dance of the U-Boats by Akash Gandhi and Bellissimo by Doug Maxwell.